Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, this morning, we get the announcement of a brand new LINK-4 monster, which is kind of odd timing because, you know, not too long after a ban list in which we see APOLLOUSA, another, you know, cute girl LINK-4 generic, really powerful tool get banned. We do see another LINK-4 with a cute girl on the artwork come straight out of the woodwork. So we'll see how this goes here. We're coming down the stretch here with Supreme Darkness. I think after this card, there's only 5 slots left in the deck or in the set, which is kind of cool. That like sometimes we have core sets, but there's like 12 complete filler cards. And I would say the cards they released over the last week, you know, the 5 like singles or whatever. I mean, we're talking Foward, we're talking good zombie field spell, we're talking about the good machine LINK-1 revealed yesterday. Like, it's been nothing but actually like solid cards, not what I would call pack filler. We'll have to see. Also, low-key, look at this little guy. I just noticed that from this picture. Look at this little guy. There's our little sidekick. I can't even tell what he is. He's like a little marshmallow guy with a little horn on his head. I love it. All right. Anyway, all right, let's get into the actual stuff for today. This is APOLLOUSA, the Lightless Shadow. I'm assuming this translation will come into a different name, but we'll get there when we get there. There's a LINK-4 Dark Fiend. Uh-oh. Fiend. Why with the fiends? It's 2800 attack. It points left, right, and then bottom left, bottom right. So you at least have 2 down arrows. You have 2 side arrows. They're fine. It's pretty rare to see like a LINK-4 with arrows that we're like, that's cringe. As long as there's like a down arrow, that's really the most important thing. There's also dumb stuff like when you point straight up, you become very susceptible to like anima. But that's, you know, those are small things. All right. Anyway, its materials are any 2+ monsters, including a fiend. That is pretty flexible materials, I will say. The fiend sounds not great, but like, can we just make like any generic fiend LINK-2? You have nightmares, right? So those cards are so generic that like as long as you had the bodies to like get into a LINK-4, that's not really a restriction. If anything, it only really like the only real restriction that adds is like maybe just taking an extra like extra deck slot that maybe you weren't already gonna play a nightmare monster for or something like that. So not too worried. That's not really a big restriction. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once each. During the main phase quick effect, you can discard 1 card to activate one of these effects. The first effect says destroy 1 card on the field, non-target destroy a card on the field. That's pretty good. The second effect is banish this card until the end phase, and if you do, special summon 1 light or dark monster from your graveyard. Dang, that's good. That's a good. These are both good options already. This is just the first effect, so you got to pick one of these. But that's really good. This and low key, funny enough, for a situation where we're talking about like APOLLOUSA being banned, this is a card that low key can work around Nib a little bit. Now, the discarding is what makes this tough, because to play around Nib and for this card to like actually be somewhat solid against Nib, you have to be discarding a card just to tag it out to dodge Nib on Nib's activation. Summon something back, but whatever you're summoning back is getting cleared by Nib, so maybe you can summon something that floats, but if it's most likely turn 1, you're talking about a scenario where that monster is already triggered and probably a once per turn anyway, but still, that's something. And then it comes back, but the whole point is that like it's coming back and it's still an interruption for you to destroy a card on the opponent's turn, but you still have to discard a card. So you're talking about discarding 2 cards just to play around Nib there. It's worth noting, but it is a little bit costly as far as how much advantage you have to give up from hand, but still I think both good effects in their own right. And the second effect, during your standby phase, so if it makes it around back to your next turn, which I think should be pretty doable, especially with this effect, if you choose to go for this effect, you can draw cards equal to the number of different types excuse me, among monsters in your graveyard. Then place the same number of cards from your hand on the bottom of the deck in any order. Oh, so it's like... It's almost like a... Phantasme. Wow, that's a pretty powerful effect. I mean... You still will only end with whatever the card you drew, basically, plus whatever else. You're not actually like going plus off of this, but you do just get to like fix that hand, because think about that. Draw cards up to the number of different types among monsters in your grave. Like, this is a Link-4, man, and this is modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! Are you drawing like 7 cards depending? You could be throwing, you know what I mean? You may have discarded hand traps. You may have Ash Blossom in there for zombie, you know? Foolos for winged beasts, like that. You could legitimately have like up to 10 different monster types in your graveyard and like draw 10. I mean, you are putting 10 back, so you're not going plus, but like it basically, I don't want to say guarantee, but it's gonna give you the draw you want basically for turn. That's really interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean they make it fair enough that it's not so this is a really good card in the grind, basically, is what this is telling me, just because it has this pretty solid tag out effect that is going to make it pretty safe to come back for your turn. And as long as you're not like either getting OTK'd completely or your opponent's not setting up like a crazy board, as long as you had like enough stuff to like keep them from going like ham and at least only letting them get at most like a half board, this card guaranteed coming back and then letting you basically fix your draw is pretty solid. So yeah, this is a pretty cool card. I like it. I think it's fairly balanced. I think for a Link-4's worth of material, I think it's a good card, but I don't think it's like out of this world. It's not a negate, it's just a non-target pop, which is still a good interruption, but not broken by any means. And the ability, like, for this to just be a good grind card. That's what I like about this card, is that it's not so broken that it's like, it's not so broken of an end board piece that it's forcing people to like not be able to play and not be able to make it through duels. And it is the kind of card that also like kind of wants to extend the length of a duel, right? If you go for the pop effect on the opponent's turn as interruption, now this card's susceptible from getting removed and completely outed entirely. Or you go for the grind play and you go for Reborning a Light or Dark Engrave. Presumably, if that's the kind of deck you're on, it's some sort of follow-up piece. Like you're reborning something, it's not negated, it's triggering to do something else. Or maybe even it's another interruption in that regard. You have something engraved that you're reborning that's interruption. And then if this card comes back on end phase, you're also then fixing your hand for your next turn to continue to be able to play. I like the way it's designed. I think this is a cool design card. We haven't really seen too much stuff like this, but this is really cool. This could actually have a really cool handful of homes, and maybe even more than a handful of homes going into the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! But cool card. I like the design of its effects. This could be a Link-4 that maybe does sort of replace like what APOLLOUSA was for a while for a lot of decks. Very curious. But that's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts down below on this card. There's kind of a lot going on with it, but I think it's solid. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think it's good enough? Do you think it's just not going to be good enough? Because like Yu-Gi-Oh! Players want degenerate negate cards nowadays. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that down below, but I'm about it. I think it's cool. I think it sort of dodges Nib at the cost of some hefty hand investment, but you know, that's what it takes sometimes to beat a card like Nib. So I'm cool with it. But I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching, guys. You know, subscribe to the channel for more things Yu-Gi-Oh! News-wise. 5 more cards down the stretch here. I'm hoping there's a couple more cards like these, and it's not just like the last 5 are the filler. I'm hoping there's something redeemable in the last couple cards, but I will bring that to you as they drop, and obviously anything else Yu-Gi-Oh! News-wise. But subscribe for that, and I will see you in the next video. Let me know your thoughts. Peace.